In today's episode of the Pathfunk Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with the VP of Marketing at Boom AI. It's Sean Spencer having on the show today. And today we're going to be learning all about Boom AI, what it actually does, how it serves its clients, and how Sean is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, give us an overview. Boom AI is an AI-powered customers engagement or supports AI-powered customer engagement tools. Tell us what that means and who is, benefiting from it.
Yeah, for sure. So the original company that I work for and still exists is called Boom Sourcing, and it's been around since 2007. Boom Sourcing, in a nutshell, is a call center company, right? Or BPO, as some people refer to it as. This is a type of thing where you have some data that you want called on. You give it to us, we call on it, we warm it up, we turn it into a hot lead, and then we transfer it to your usually US-based SDR closers, right? So we've been doing that since 2007. And Boom Sourcing is also a technology company. So we patented the first, what is sometimes referred to as avatar soundboard technology. And so what this is a lot of our call centers are offshore, Philippines, for example. The call center worker there is very good at understanding English and intent. However, they're not great at speaking it, and they have a heavy accent. And as we all know, that can be a real pain point for a customer experience when you're talking to someone that you can't understand. So we patented and invented a technology called Soundboard, which is basically we have a US voice actor record the utterance, and then the Filipino can activate that utterance with nodes, basically hotkeys. And so as they understand the conversation, we have all the utterances created to capture, to sort of keep them in that walled garden and funnel them towards that decision. And the whole time that US-based prospect thinks they're talking to somebody in South Carolina. And it's totally seamless. It's pretty incredible. And that technology has been around for a long time. So in the past few years, we asked ourselves, all right, well, what's the next step? What's the next thing that we can do? And that is AI, right? So AI is being used to power everything these days, from your washer machine to your Tesla, right? So rather than have a live agent have to make the decision of intent and press the appropriate node, now we have AI that can do that. And the AI is listening. It knows what the person needs to hear or what they should hear, or how to respond, or how to address a concern, and then it can activate that module. And so again, the ultimate, the end user experience is super seamless. It sounds exactly like you're talking to that call center rep that's in South Carolina or whatever, and it's pretty cool. And that's just sort of the beginning of that's the tip of the iceberg. But that's our first product, and that is actually working now. And what's cool about that is, since it's AI, it can work 24/7. Since it's AI, it can instantly scale. So if we have a client that needs, let's say, 500 agents, cool, we just press a button, now you got 500 AI agents. So yeah, that's kind of a basic overview.
That's pretty interesting. It sounds like this type of technology will give the voice to AI at some point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, it's rather than go the route of like a Siri or Alexa, which is a synthetic voice, we wanted to preserve that customer experience where they feel like they're talking to a real person. And so really right now, the best way to do that is to record a real person and then have the AI sort of puppeteer the conversation. I think eventually these synthetic generated voices like Alexa and Siri will get really convincing and have a little more personality, but right now they're not quite there. You still know you're talking to a robot. So
yep. That makes sense. What type of companies benefit the most of this? Is this like, actual call centers leveraging this, or more like enterprises to build up their own in-house customer support? Like, who's using it?
Yeah, so vertical wise, we typically operate in the insurance space, is very common, be it Medicare, open enrollment, supplemental insurance, auto insurance, things like that. So insurance is very big around the world, but especially in the US. So there's thousands of lead generation type websites where people simply Google, hey, I want to save money on car insurance, right? So wherever they end up, it's a little bit of a funnel. They put some information in, they want to learn more. And then eventually that person gets contacted back. So the company that is ingesting all of that data they need a way to just sort of mass outreach to all of those people and qualify them. Because a lot of people, maybe it's late at night, maybe they did it on 12 websites, and maybe by the time that we call them, they've already got it, right? So rather than waste expensive, valuable US agent-based agents' time, it's better to have our AI make that call, just do a simple little qualifying funnel. Maybe it's 3, 4, 5 questions, make sure that the intent is there, and then transfer it to that live agent who can nuance and massage the conversation into what it needs to be. So that's typically, like I said, most of our clients are sort of in that space.
Gotcha. So how do folks hear about, or maybe first one, let me step back, like who within those companies is actually then, bringing up a technology like this, because it might be quite a big change in their operations, obviously. Who, is that like a head of sales really? Because you mentioned qualification, or is it more from the operational side of things or tech side of things?
You know what, all of them. So oftentimes these are, solopreneurs, so it's their own little small boutique insurance agency, and so they're the point of contact. Other times it'll be the biz dev person or the salesperson, like that. The main one of the most beneficial ways that we've found to find these people is through live event trade shows. So like any company, we do other forms of marketing online and whatnot, but when we're able to meet people in person, which has been difficult in this last year with the pandemic, of course, but those events are coming back online now. And that's usually the best way that we can sort of figure out how we can work with these people. Because it seems like almost everybody that we onboard, it's somewhat of a custom white glove approach we have to do. It's not super turnkey.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Interesting. What role does the website then play though? Like, how do you think about the website for Boom AI?
Yeah, for sure. I actually built it a year ago. And right now it's pretty minimal. I wanted to keep the messaging just really clean. As we all know, in this attention economy of distractions, you only have 5-10 seconds of someone's real focus when they hit your site. So my main goal was to just convey a sense of high quality, make sure that people knew that there's a brilliant team behind the product, and to drive people towards making a call. Because like I said, it's really pretty white glove what we do. We're not quite to the level where it's just a turnkey SaaS that somebody can swipe, put in their credit card and download it. And that's not really how we operate. So we really need to drive people towards a conversation.
Yeah, makes sense. Anything, typically, you mentioned you built the website. Typically, marketers always have a super critical eye on the page. So you mentioned already sort of the strengths, minimalism, straight to the point, driving them to a call. Anything that you see room for improvement moving forward for the page?
Room for improvement. Let me think about that. Yeah, so we're a pretty lean organization. So I wear a lot of hats. I build the websites. I design the copy. I do the SEO. I basically do everything when it comes to marketing. And like I said, we do a lot of trade shows, so I design our outreach there. Improvement, nothing comes to mind right now, but I can tell you what's worked. And with trade shows and even with websites or whatever, it's really important to differentiate yourself from your competitors, right? When I'm actually new to this company, I've been here for about a year, and the lead generation sort of call center world was somewhat new to me. So I did sort of a deep dive on it to look at how other people are talking to their potential customers. What does their messaging look like? What does their branding look like? And there's certainly some people who are doing pretty fine job, and things look interesting and seem high quality. But I just really wanted to set ourselves apart in a very powerful, unique way. So what we decided to do was a lot of our development is down in Mexico. And so I started thinking about what does that look like if we wanted to sort of give some praise to our development team down there and celebrate them a little bit. And so I started thinking along the lines of having some kind of a Mexican identity, whatever that looked like. And I went down this whole rabbit hole, and where I ended up was actually with the luchador, which is the masked kind of wrestler guy. And so I started thinking about that. And then long story short, we ended up naming our software product Luchador. And the logo for it is this luchador. And so all of our messaging and sort of brand presence at these events has been luchador related. So we've literally had dudes dressed up like luchadors. We've had giant cage match looking things. Our swag is luchador masks and this whole thing. And it's very it was very disruptive, where people would walk into these somewhat stuffy, boring events and they would see us and be like, what are you guys doing? This is crazy. And if anything, it would really just kick off that conversation. It gave people a reason to take pause in a room where everybody's trying to get your attention and look at us and be like, well, that's different. And then we'd start talking to them. And then, that's all it was. It was the really high visibility fishing lure that got attention. And so that really worked for us.
Awesome. That's pretty cool, actually. Hope people can take away from that quite a bit. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to learn a bit about yourself, right? There's a lot of content out there on marketing on how you could continuously run experiments, do this and do that. What's your source of learning and inspiration? Like, is there certain platforms, places that you particularly like with all the noise out there?
Yeah, for sure. So, there's endless podcasts. For a while, I was enjoying the one Business Luncheon with Roland Fraser. It was a pretty good one. Book, I tend to gravitate a little bit more towards books on tape. I feel like the concepts are probably a little bit more fleshed out than just, free-flowing conversation. And my favorite author for that has been Seth Godin. He has dozens of books, and he also has a podcast too. But I've probably learned the most from him. He really focuses on messaging and, connecting to the customer and their story and how they see themselves in the world and sort of marrying the two. And yeah, that's probably where I've learned the most, to be honest.
Cool. Since we slowly come into an end of the interview, I would love to wrap it up with some rapid fire questions. You ready for those?
Sure. Yeah.
What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Right now, at the moment, it's stability. And what that means is with our voice AI product, it can instantly scale. So if somebody has 10 agents, AI agents, and they need 100, we can flip a switch, make that happen. Now, that said, when you instantly scale things, it's hard to control the stability of products. And so we're really working on that right now, just so we can keep ramping up, because there's so much demand for what we're doing.
Gotcha. If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one thing that you would fix for your role today?
If there's no boundaries in tech, what would I fix for my role?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about that. I feel like I work at a lean organization. I wear a lot of hats. I feel spread thin quite a bit. It would be cool if I had some kind of an AI personal assistant that could actually do things for me. Mm-hmm. Take something off my plate.
What is the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Stability, same thing. Yeah, just as we scale, just things break sometimes. So that makes me nervous.
Mm-hmm. And let's go back to the days of Brigham Young University, right? So yeah. We are doing some time travel. Now you're heading off out of formal education into the world of marketing and business, and I think you were also more on the creative side as well. Yeah. What's the one advice you would give yourself?
Yeah, for sure. And I've given this advice to a lot of people who are pre-college or in college or even post-college. It's to do internships. Mm-hmm. There are infinite companies that are happy to have someone come on board. Oftentimes it won't be paid, but that is, in my opinion, the best way to really learn what you want to do. Everybody always loves to say, oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, whatever. I want to be a tech guy. Okay, well, have you spent a week with one of those people and seen what their day-to-day looks like and asked them what it is they love about their job or what they hate about their job? I feel like that's the best way to really hone in on what you want to do. And so don't just see it from afar and idealize it. It's get in there and try it out.
Very cool. Sean, I want to give you basically the last word, right? If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed today on the podcast, if somebody would be forgetting all that we went through, what's the one thing that they should be remembering about Boom AI?
Yeah, for sure. That the future is bright when it comes to voice interactions. And what I mean by that is right now, one of the biggest pain points when it comes to phones or calling companies or whatnot, it's twofold. It's going through an IVR, and IVR is where it says, oh, press 2 to go to whatever department. Now press 3, and you're going through this thing. It's a terrible experience. Nobody likes it. It's horrible. Boom AI is going to solve for that. You will be able to call and it will be a free-flowing, fluid conversation where you're not having to press these buttons. And maybe it's even entertaining where you're calling Geico and you're talking to the lizard and it sounds exactly like him. You know what I mean? So that's happening. That's very exciting. Yeah, that's basically it.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Python Presents.
Yeah, thanks for having me.